everyone, and welcome to our presentation of Reading Skills, the Printed Word. Thank you for joining us today. Our aim for today's webinar is to assist you in understanding and effectively using techniques such as previewing and scanning, while also showing you how to use context clues and a dictionary to discover word meanings. Our primary goal is to empower you with the tools needed not to only complete your program, but to increase reading comprehension and start you on the path to success. My name is Elena Bright, and I am the Senior English Instructor for Penn Foster High School. I've been part of the instructional team here at Penn Foster since 2006, and as you can see from the information on your screen, I'm pretty easy to find. If you have any questions about your English or reading courses, please feel free to contact me. I'd be more than happy to help you. Since reading is such a basic skill, many students quickly become frustrated with trouble in this area. Powering through and improving your level of reading comprehension is very important, not only for your schooling, but for your future. So let's begin with a short video that outlines a few reasons why improving your reading skills through mastery of the printed word is important.
Created using Powtoon.
So let's take a look at what we'll be learning today. Upon completion of this webinar, you'll be able to understand both the process and value of previewing as a reading tool, understand both the process and value of scanning as a reading tool, understand, recognize, and correctly utilize context clues to identify word meanings in order to improve both vocabulary and reading comprehension, understand the importance of using a dictionary while reading, recognize and correctly utilize the parts of a dictionary entry, and understand the basic differences between print and online dictionaries. But let's begin with previewing. So what is previewing? Previewing is exactly what it sounds like. By doing a quick scan of a person, a photograph, or an advertisement, we can make assumptions about feelings, actions, or purpose. The written word is no different. Excuse me. For our purposes, previewing involves looking at a printed work in order to determine if it's something we're able to use. Previewing involves learning to pick up clues. When you preview, you're using the information you already know to guess what information is likely to follow or be contained within. Words are not the only things that can be previewed. One look at this child will tell you what you need to know about her mood. She's clearly unhappy and is very likely prepared to express herself. Secondly, even though there's no ball in this picture, we can easily discern from other clues, such as the uniform and the position of the main player's body, that we're looking at a football game, most likely immediately following a kick. Finally, while this billboard contains no words, our eyes quickly search for familiar content that we can make sense of. We find it in the golden arches. Even a small child would understand that this is an advertisement for McDonald's. Whether or not we're aware of it, we preview all of the time in our everyday lives. But let's look specifically at previewing words in print. In a work of fiction, we can look at the title, the table of contents or chapter titles, and the back cover or the book jacket. In a work of nonfiction, we can look at the title once again, the table of contents or division titles depending on the work, illustrations or captions, and sometimes most importantly, the index. Keep in mind that if a book contains an introduction, it will provide an idea of the writing style, reading level, and content, but you can also spot check various passages in the book. All of these will give you information about the content of the work in question, but we can make it even easier. Our big clue for you is to watch for thieves. Not that kind. Thieves is an acronym to help us remember what we can look at while previewing a magazine, a book, or an article. T is for title. The title of any work will give us an idea of both the content and the intended audience. For example, 17 magazine is not geared toward men, first of all. It is also not geared toward girls older than probably 21, 22. This has a very specific audience, and the articles and the pictures in it are geared toward that audience. H is for headings. Whether they are chapter titles, article titles, or regular headings, they will give us an idea of the information therein. This includes the table of contents. I is for introduction. The introduction for a book or the introductory paragraph in an article can tell us quite a bit about the work. E is for extras. Different works may contain different specialized information. Take a look at everything, even captions of charts or pictures, to determine if the work is right for your purposes. B is for visuals. If the work contains pictures, diagrams, or charts, you'll be able to quickly see if the type of information you're looking for is there. E is for end questions. If the book or article has them, take a look at what is being asked. Without reading the book or the article, you can determine from the end questions what was covered, as well as the author's attitude toward the subject. Finally, S is for summary. Whether it's a summary paragraph or an epilogue, the summary will provide information about the work, often including the author's conclusions. Now let's put our skills to the test. Where are we most likely to find information on fishing in the United States? We first have sports afield. Next is the in-fisherman. And finally, sailing life. By the headings, we can see that sports afield seems to contain information about hunting and other land sports, and there's no indication on the cover that any fishing information is included. Based on the title and the headings, we can see that sailing life seems to limit itself to just sailing. There's no sign of fishing information on the cover of this magazine. Therefore, the magazine most likely to contain information about fishing in the United States is In-Fisherman. Now let's move on to scanning. Excuse me. Scanning is a great way to obtain information without having to read every word. However, please note that anything can be scanned for details. For our purposes, the process of scanning involves running your eyes quickly over lines of print looking for specific information. Can you scan to figure out these puzzles? This is a brain teaser you may have seen before. By scanning, not necessarily reading what is there word for word, we can find the error. Take a look at it. If you read it carefully, you'll realize that the word "the" is doubled. It's there twice. Our brain tends to play tricks on us, especially during the proofreading process, and we read what we meant to write, or we'll read what we think should be there. If we read very carefully, which does involve scanning, we realize that there are errors. Next, we have a simple spot the differences puzzle. Since we're looking for differences and not at the bigger picture, scanning does come in handy. As soon as we're told that we need to spot the differences, we no longer see a cartoonish field of tulips. We see very specific things such as different colors. And finally, this last puzzle asks the viewer to search for hidden letters within the image. Scanning will help with this task as well, as we're looking for very specific objects or information. Again, just as with the tulips, when we back up and look at the full picture, we don't necessarily see what we're looking for. But when we dig in and zoom in to look for the letters, we can see them. Just as with previewing, we scan all of the time in our everyday lives, probably without even realizing it. We can scan a crowd or a photo for a friend. We can, and often do, scan for movie times. And we can scan a menu for either specific foods or for prices. We scan anytime we're looking for specific information. The key to scanning is to not be overwhelmed by the amount of text. Remember, we're not reading all of it, just scanning for information. In scanning text, no matter what it is, we look for specific information, including capitalization, which includes proper nouns, places, names, underlining, which could be titles or emphasis, italics, again, could be titles or emphasis, boldface type is normally for emphasis, and numbers, which can include dates, times, prices, addresses. There are any number of things that could include numbers. The key is to simply look for whatever information you need and nothing more. Sometimes this is difficult to do, but it gets better with practice. You'll be hearing the story of Gina and Wayne throughout the next 2 reading skills webinars, but let's use our scanning skills to take a look at their wedding invitation. What information stands out when you're viewing an invitation? We have the date, the time, and the address of the venue. Again, these are all numbers. Without even realizing it, we scan for numbers almost automatically. Now let's try it from another angle. Imagine that you've come across this flower in your garden and you want to know what it is. In what type of publication could we look up the flower to quickly and accurately name the plant? Since all we have is a visual of the flower, we would need an illustrated guide to do this. Which of these would be most likely to work for our purposes? We have North American trees, rare flowers of the world, and a guide to U.S. flowers. Well, North American trees, we would imagine, would be only about trees, so we can eliminate that. And rare flowers of the world would include flowers from around the world, not just the United States, and we're really not sure if this is a rare flower. So our best choice would be a guide to U.S. flowers. Finally, what details could we use to find it in an illustrated guide? We would need everything that we could possibly tell from the picture, which would be the color of the flower, the leaf shape, the fact that it's growing on a vine. These kinds of details will help us to find this and narrow down what kind of plant it is. And in the event that you're wondering, this is a morning glory. Next, we'll work on determining meanings using context clues. Context clues are words in a sentence or a paragraph that will help you to figure out the meaning of an unfamiliar word. There are 4 types of context clues: definitions, synonyms and antonyms, examples, and clues determined by viewing individual word parts. So why do we need context clues? They may be necessary for several reasons, but they're always used to help us figure out the meaning of an unfamiliar word. A word may be used incorrectly, making the meaning unclear. A word may be completely new to you. A word may be familiar, but the exact meaning may still be unclear. You may have once known the meaning of a word, but now you've forgotten it. Or a word may just have multiple meanings. This video will show you how context clues really work, even if you're not a robot. Take a look.
You realize that the world is full of cravens who pretend to be heroes.
Quiet, Bobby. You know Throne of Kings is my favorite show. Oh, a craven is another word for coward.
A mind needs books, as a sword needs a whetstone, if it is to keep its edge.
Yeah, I guess there are a lot of confusing words in this show. Dear Tim and Moby, what are context clues? My English teacher says they can help me improve my vocabulary, but I'm not sure what she's talking about. Help! From George. Well, George, when we talk about context, we're talking about something's surroundings. You know, like the setting or the backdrop. Take a look at this picture. Can you tell what's missing by looking at the context? Heck yeah, a baseball. You can do the same detective work with words. Let me grab my Throne of Kings books and I'll show you. Yes, I've read them all. That's why I appreciate the show on a much deeper level than you. Anyway, when you see a word you don't know, it's usually surrounded by words you do know. So look at those words and see if they can help you fill in the blank. Take this, for example. After dinner, a group of mummers entertained the guests by acting out the story of an evil wizard. You probably don't know the word mummer, but look at what the author says. The mummers entertain people, and they act out stories. Can you think of another group of entertainers who act out stories? Right, actors. Mummers is an old-timey word for actors. Of course, there are different ways to look for context clues. Sometimes a mystery word can be defined by its antonyms or opposites. Take this passage. Unlike his genteel brother, Hubert displayed poor manners and crude behavior. The mystery word is genteel. From the context, we know that it's the opposite of someone who's crude and has bad manners. Right again. The word genteel describes someone who's classy and dignified, like that guy. You can also figure out a mystery word by looking for synonyms, or words that mean the same thing. Here, take this one. King Adenoid had married the comeliest woman in the realm, far lovelier and more beautiful than anyone in the 12 counties. Comeliest isn't a word we see too often, but let's take a closer look. First, it ends in the suffix est, like biggest, smartest, and richest. So the queen must be the best or most at something. But what? In the same sentence, it says she's lovelier and more beautiful than anyone else. Those are the synonyms we're looking for. She's the loveliest, most beautiful woman in the kingdom. Okay, just one more trick. Sometimes a mystery word will be surrounded by examples that can tip off its meaning. Check out this excerpt. Royalton City was filled with cathedrals, castles, and other huge edifices. Now, castles and cathedrals are both examples of big... flying monkeys? No. They're buildings, Moby. A cathedral's a building, so's a castle. So edifices means buildings. That's true. Sometimes there just isn't enough context to figure a word out. When that happens, there's no shame in using a dictionary.
The thanes of these hibernal climes are mere vassals of the Iron Throne.
Okay, an important tip to remember is that working with context clues is the opposite of scanning. We need to think big when using context clues. In scanning, you should consider only the information you're searching for. Using context clues, you have to consider the sentence as a whole. If you focus on just the word, you'll lose the ability to determine its meaning. Who doesn't love the Minions? This video has only 4 words, none of which are really used effectively, but providing context for the situation, we can easily understand what's happening. Take a look. Again, the video had only 4 words, but surely you understood what was happening. As a reader, you have a lot of power. You're bringing the context and the understanding of the situation, making sense of what is otherwise pretty much gibberish. This is the power you want to harness every time you read, and context will help you do that. Now let's take a look at a few examples in print. The child's atrocious behavior was punished. She was sent straight to bed when her family arrived home from dinner. Atrocious may not be a familiar word to you. However, based on the punishment that the girl received, we can determine that her behavior was negative. Julie was ecstatic when she received news of the promotion. Previously, she had been down in the dumps. If ecstatic is not a word that you're familiar with, you can use the antonym or opposite meaning contained in the sentence to determine that Julie was extremely happy when she heard this news. Finally, recalcitrant people often do not have any valid reason to be so uncooperative. Recalcitrant may not be a familiar word, but the explanation, specifically the word uncooperative, gives us the idea that these are negative people. Finally, let's take a quick look at using a dictionary. So what is a dictionary? According to Wikipedia, a dictionary is a collection of words in one or more specific languages, often listed alphabetically or by radical and stroke for ideograph languages, with usage of information, definitions, etymologies, phonetics, pronunciations, translation, and other information. If you're shaking your head in confusion, we're on the same page. I've included this definition to show that a dictionary definition doesn't always provide clarity right away. Sometimes what the dictionary can give us is an idea of what a word means. We may need to pare down the information offered in order for it to make complete sense to us. So let's try it again. Much more simply, a dictionary is a reference book that provides word meanings, origins, and pronunciations. That's all we really need to know for the time being. Despite the format of the dictionary, online or in print, the same information is offered in every entry. A definition can tell us how to pronounce a word correctly, all possible parts of speech of the word, usually one at a time according to the definition. Since the part of speech of a word is determined by usage, the possibilities really are endless. any other tenses of the word that may exist. Remember that a verb tells us what is happening. The tense of the verb tells us when it happened. The meanings or definitions of the word. This may include the literal meaning and archaic meaning, colloquial meanings, slang meanings, and even figurative meanings. And finally, an entry may also include synonyms and antonyms that are available for the word. Depending on the dictionary, sample sentences may also be given, along with the history or language origin of the word. You should use a dictionary to obtain basic information about a word whenever you don't understand or recognize it. A print dictionary is arranged in alphabetical order and contains guide words used to find the correct term. If you want to know how to pronounce a word, you must look it up in the pronunciation guide. An online dictionary contains a search box that allows you to input the term without searching through pages upon pages of entries. If you want to know how to pronounce the word, you can simply click on the audio button provided and the computer will pronounce the word for you. Most students do see this as a major advantage. As we just stated, pronunciation is seen as a major advantage in the online dictionary, but there are other differences. Print dictionaries are browsable, while online dictionaries offer only one word at a time. Print dictionaries tend to be bulky and heavy, not to mention that they can be lost, while online dictionaries are available at the click of a button. Finally, reading level and ease of use can be issues in either format. However, there are issues that are encountered more with print dictionaries. The bottom line is that we check a dictionary for information on an unfamiliar word. The dictionary entry is intended to offer all of the information that we might need. We're not necessarily using all of the information given. Listed here are additional resources that may assist you in mastering the information offered within this webinar. Should you need any more information about any of these topics, please contact an instructor. We'd be happy to locate additional sources for you. That's all the information that I have for the time being. If you have questions pertaining to the information covered here, please don't hesitate to contact an instructor. You can call or email, but we're also available on Facebook, Google, and Twitter. Reach out in the way that's most comfortable for you, and we'd be happy to help. Also, before wrapping up, I'd like to remind everyone that the second Reading Skills webinar for Main Ideas is held on July 16th at 4 p.m., and the third webinar for Interpreting What You Read will be held next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Both of these presentations contain a lot of great information, and I would strongly recommend attending both of them if at all possible. Thank you once again for your attendance today. Hopefully we're beginning to pave the path to success. I hope that you have a great day, and good luck in your studies.